What's up? I'm back. I wanted to just talk about something. I'm sorry. I ain't sorry. Fuck y'all. Y'all gonna get all this heat. If it come to me, it come to me. I ain't tweeting no more. This is my new Twitter shit. But pretty much what I wanted to say. I'm cooking. I'm fucking with the tomatoes and thinking about ripe fruit and how I've been talking about it, and also kind of thinking about death. But that same shit from like Sausage Party. If y'all remember how when they end up finding what their true purpose was and it was to be eaten by humans, they got hella sad and shit like that and was hella scared. And if you look at us being as ripe fruit, and if ripe fruit get plucked, if ripe fruit get plucked by the energies that want to eat it or whatever, want to consume it, versus other ripe fruit that either stay on the tree or fall on the ground or whatever, you gotta look at us as ripe fruit and us being pretty much absorbed by the gods and eaten by the gods. And that's why when people see us die and things like that, they might be scared or they might see fear. But that's the same thing that happened in Sausage Party, because our idea of death is so fucked up and we're not really understanding what's really going on. But that's really what we want, because that's our exit. It's a part of consumption. It's a part of energy merging. And then that same shit, like what I was gonna say with the what I was gonna say. Thinking about when they were scared, then to kind of how they kind of was even singing, like they were used to sing, and you could say that was their form of prayer, and they used to sing about keeping the morale up and about how the day was gonna go and shit like that in Sausage Party. And it just go to show you, like, it's all kind of set up for us to kind of fear and be, set up the opposite way of thinking, like, oh, this is going to happen. So then when this shit start happening, we're not even prepared for that shit, and we naturally fear that shit too. But like I said, if you're being consumed by something, like, it's just like even like an egg, like it picked one sperm, it picked the sperm that get there on time. It's picked probably the strongest of the strong because it was swimming the faster and had the most endurance to get there. So it's like that's the most ripe fruit in the sense of the egg. And if you look at us being like in the womb after we came out the womb and then came into this shit, they say we like in the belly of the beast, or I consider us being in the womb about to be going into another creation, but that makes the most sense to me. But even them saying in the belly of the beast, that's just a lack of understanding our process and what's really going on with us. And it just go to show, like, they teach us to fear our next step, which is death, because most people can't see past it, and most people don't even know how to explain it. And it makes sense to me. And it's other movies that kind of talk about it where they say they gonna give you, like, say it was like they was in a utopia, I think that's what it's called, and pretty much they was chosen or selected to take a vacation somewhere, and they end up killing them or using them for symbiotes or some shit like that for a greater cause, they would call it. And it just go to show you, like, that's the physical idea on how they would do it, but they're mocking what the gods really do, because they pick the most ripe fruit. Because why wouldn't you? Like, when we want our fruit, we not trying to get the sour fruit, we trying to get the ones that we know the best. And even past that, we regrow and we try to what do you do with horses? You try to breed the best horse. So, like, they're the same thing. We try to breed our best seeds when they come to fruit, and the most sweet fruit. Like I talk about, strawberries didn't used to always be sweet, and a lot of fruits didn't always used to be their taste now. But we've cultivated them over time by choosing the best seeds, and that's how we got to where we are now. But in that same aspect, why would the gods pick the best of the best? And as soon as they see you, they're not gonna let you fall to the ground. And that's the same thing when it said it'll shake the kernels, and not one bad will fall to the ground. But it's like them, if he shook the tree, not one ripe fruit will fall to the ground. And that's just a part of the process, because if you're unripe, you just go back to the ground and you start over the process of recreating the tree, and either giving nutrients to the soil, to your seed sprout, or whatever. But you still a process until you pick, and then eating and giving energy into the gods. And bro, like, we might think we right, but this goes back to the Hercules story, back to the hero, the Heru's journey. Like, we might think we right, we might think we ready, but the gods will really tell us when it's time to be consumed, when it's time to move on. And like I said, it's our perspective. And then you can even say, like, why do people get sad when death happens, and then in that same aspect you be like, they're going to a better place? It's because most likely you're jealous that they're going to a better place. And you can even say that because that's how people get reincarnated. Like, you weep so long that they feel like they didn't do their job because you're a part of them, so they come back. And it just go to show you, like, they could have been going on to the next phase of life, but due to your selfish reasons, you're not understanding what's really going on. You brought them back, and that's in a lot of kind of spiritual and metaphysical stuff. Dealing with rituals and sending people on to the next life. Like with Black Panther, like they even trying to show how you can get trapped in this reality versus how if you bury it the right way, you can go to your spiritual kingdom where all the other Black Panthers was, because his cousin or his uncle wasn't buried in the right spot, so he had to stay in where they was, Oakland, versus how when his father died, he was buried and went to the right spot, and it just go to that same idea. But it's many movies that play jokes talking about that. From what was kind of the last movie I seen that did that? It wasn't The Maze Runner. Yeah, The Maze Runner do it too, because they pretty much watching you and waiting for you to make the next move and seeing if you can figure it out. And once you figure it out, they move you on to the next move. That's like the whole mystery to The Maze Runner. But it's another movie called it's another series, the Virgin series. They kind of do the same thing. Like all these little the Hunger Games, they pick the right fruit, they play the games, and it's all mimicking what the gods do in the process of the gods. And you already know they've been trying to mimic the gods for so long on this reality, and that attests to all these movies. Just attest to what they've been doing. And even when you look at when they want to build a utopia, they'll pick their own seeds. They wouldn't let you mate freely, and that's where you go into movies like what's that movie called? George Orwell book. I can't think of it. But whenever you creating a utopia, you always pick your own seeds, and then that's what they're trying to do with technology now. Have where they can create their own seeds and implement in their kids, because they already losing their seeds in the sense of their physical reality. Like we already talked about this before, but in that same, like, they're not fertile no more, but in that same aspect, they get to pick seeds and they get to keep them, and they get to decide the strongest. And that's kind of what they've been doing with clones and things. Like if you look into like royalties and like the Bushes, the what do you call it, the weak ass queens and shit. Like they pretty much been using the same like type of seeds to keep the kids going, in a sense. That's why they kind of they all kind of act the same and think the same, in a sense, because they literally like GMO and they're not naturally made in the sense of space and spirit. Like they trying to control their creation. But it is what it is. It's plenty of evidence in movies and shit like that to explain what I'm talking about. But Sausage Party do a good job in, kind of diverting our mind and thinking about how we should be. We'll think we're doing the right thing. We'll think we want to die, but then all of a sudden we realize, oh no, death is horrible. Death is bad. That's really what they tried to do, but make it funny in the movie. But we already know that game, so we're just gonna keep peeping and keep peeping and keep scooping. But keep peeping and keep putting out knowledge. But I'm out. Deuces.